Japan. How do you even begin to describe it? A nation of feudal samurai, then an aggressive military empire, and then, almost overnight, a global economic titan and a cultural powerhouse. How can one country be all of those things? Well, today we're going to try and unlock that very puzzle, the incredible, almost unbelievable story of Japan's history of reinvention.
You know, this quote just nails the kind of whiplash people get when they think about Japan. The perception has swung so wildly, right? From these quaint, almost doll-like images of geishas, to these fanatical, brutal soldiers, and then again to hyper-efficient corporate drones. Each image is so completely different, it honestly feels like we're talking about three separate countries.
So this is the big question. This is our mystery for today. We're not talking about some slow, gentle evolution here. We're talking about radical, lightning-fast reinvention. To get to the bottom of it, we really have to think like detectives, piecing together the clues that explain just how Japan pulled this off, time and time again.
All right, so the first major clue, the first key to solving this whole thing, is a national skill that has been honed for centuries, the art of adaptation. And let me tell you, this is about so much more than just copying what other people do. And get this talent for learning and adapting isn't some new thing. It is a consistent pattern that stretches back over 1,000 years. I mean, way back in the 700s, Japan was looking to China, modeling its entire government and even its capital city on Chinese designs. Then, fast forward to the 1860s, and it's turning to the West, just soaking up everything from science to philosophy. And then again, after World War II, it was American business techniques that became the blueprint. You see this pattern again and again. It's the bedrock of their ability to change. But here's the crucial part. It was never, ever simple imitation. The real magic is in a process called Japanization. It's this incredible ability to take a foreign idea, pull it apart, and then rebuild it to fit perfectly within a Japanese context. Just look at their writing system. They took Chinese characters and brilliantly adapted them into their own unique phonetic script, kana. The goal was always to absorb, not to be absorbed. Okay, so let's move on to our second key, which builds on this idea of adaptation. To really understand Japan, you have to get your head around the very unique nature of power there. Because let me tell you, it is not always what it seems on the surface. Here we see this fascinating pattern that pops up all throughout Japanese history. There's a split between the formal, symbolic authority and the people who wield the actual power. On paper, the emperor was this divine figurehead, but in reality, it was the shogun, a military dictator who was calling all the shots. And this pattern continues right into the modern era. You had the elected government making laws, sure, but it was often these incredibly powerful bureaucrats, like the ones in the legendary Ministry of International Trade and Industry, or MITI, who were truly steering the nation's economic ship.
The Kamakura shogunate is the absolute perfect example of this. Think about it. For over 100 years, the shogun was governing the entire country from his military base in Kamakura. But meanwhile, hundreds of miles away in Kyoto, the emperor was still there, performing ancient rituals, reigning as this symbolic, divine authority, but holding almost zero practical power. This duality is just fundamental to understanding how Japan works. So we have these two traits, right? Incredible adaptation and this unique power structure. How did they hold up during their greatest test ever? I'm talking about Japan's most astonishing transformation of all, its rise from the absolute total devastation of World War II. 25%. Just try to wrap your head around that number. After the war, a full quarter of the entire nation's housing was just gone. The country was in ruins. Its industries were destroyed, its people were on the verge of starvation. It was a true year zero. And into this absolute chaos comes the U.S. occupation, and they basically hit a giant reset button with three massive reforms. First, they broke up the zaibatsu, these huge family-run conglomerates that had bankrolled the war. Second, they pushed through sweeping land reform, totally dismantling the old feudal system by turning tenant farmers into landowners. And third, they empowered labor, giving workers the right to form unions. This wasn't just a little reform, this was a complete rewiring of Japan's economic and social foundations. So building on this totally new foundation, Japan's leaders made an absolutely pivotal strategic decision. It became known as the Yoshida Doctrine, and the plan was brilliantly simple. Focus every single ounce of national energy on one thing, and one thing only: economic recovery.
With the US handling its military security, Japan could pour everything it had into becoming an economic superpower. And the results, they were just explosive. When the Korean War broke out in 1950, Japan basically became the factory next door for the war effort. This Korean War boom was the spark that lit the fuse. In a single year, industrial production shot up by 70%. The Phoenix had taken flight from the ashes. So, after going through this incredible story of total collapse and unbelievable rebirth, what's the big takeaway? What's at the core of the Japanese playbook for success? It really all comes down to this core set of strengths. You have this deep, deep willingness to learn from others, combined with a really practical focus on what actually works, not just what sounds good in theory. It's that unique ability to Japanize foreign ideas, blending them with tradition, and it's all driven by this powerful, collective national will to achieve these incredibly ambitious goals. And that leaves us with one last, really provocative thought. Japan has proven beyond a doubt that it can master military power and economic power. So what's the next great transformation? Some people suggest the next big challenge is to become a lifestyle superpower, to focus that incredible national character not on production, but on quality of life. Now, what would that look like? Well, that just might be the next chapter in Japan's amazing story.